came forward to present, and a few others also had some topics to present. We could not start, but anyway, we are resuming the sessions, learning community sessions with Dr. Saraswati Madam's presentation. And the topic is very relevant and very appropriate during the times where elderly, older adults are experiencing a lot of issues and problems across the world. It's not just in India alone or in developing countries. Wherever you go, the percentage of older people in the demographics is increasing, and the infrastructure, the facilities, services are not increasing and expanding in most societies. And sometimes you have no proper policies and plans in place to take care of growing elderly population. So in this context, now almost like 2 years back, the statistics are 750 million people across the world. It is projected to be almost like 15 million, not projected to be almost like 1.5 billion, 1.5 billion in 2050. That's the size of older population by 2050. We are not very far away from 2050. Everybody is talking about 2050 now. So therefore, I think it's a relevant conversation. It's not a, Madam has suggested that it's going to be a dialogue rather than a lecture. So let us all hope to have a meaningful dialogue and interaction on this topic. So we're all adult learners, so we always have something to share and talk about, not only the speaker or the presenter. So I really thank ma'am for coming forward to make a presentation on this important topic. Okay, let us get started with that. We all know Dr. Saraswati Madam. There is no need to introduce more about her. She has done her PhD in this area, and you might have seen some initiatives that she is planning to take on her own to serve the elderly population in India. I have seen a couple of postings, and I really like those initiatives because they're very well needed in India. So with that, let us get started with the session. Ma'am, once again, I welcome you and thank you for coming forward to make this presentation.
Thank you, Sudarshan. And I'm happy to see all these participants. This is just to discuss, and my aim always was, how do we prepare people who are in their 50s or even 40s and make them aware of what is aging? Because normally it is a subject, whether it is for general discussions, whether it is for research, whether it is for gerontological social work, it is a subject which is postponed, saying, okay, there's time, we will see about it later. And then as we start growing old, we realize that I wish I knew, this would happen or that would happen. I would have been better prepared. And also when I was reading a lot of articles, one of them said, your parents prepare you to be a good student, study well, then they'll get you married and say, okay, you be a good wife, and this is how you have to be, or you should be a good husband. I don't know if they talk about all this to their male children. And this is what you have to do. They settle you in life, and settling in life ends after you're married and gone. After that, what about aging? I don't know who talks about it. Whereas we are fortunate that in India, we see that we have senior citizens at home, how they grow old, how they settle, what happens. But this was once upon a time. These days, it's totally different. What is the treatment given to senior citizens these days at home? How they are taken care of? Rural areas when it was a matter of fact, saying that yes, this man will grow old and this is what will happen to him and this is what we have to do, give him his food, his medicine. No, I don't know if they gave medicines also. And this is how it is, the life continued. Now, the situation I have found through some of my work that I have done with seniors, whether it is running interactive centers or going to villages and running an interactive center, or what all we are doing through our CSR projects, programs and all that, we still feel that life is still quite sad for them. And even among the rich homes, it's not only the poor, even among the rich, we find that a lot of seniors have all the facilities, they have all the money, they have everything, but they still have certain problems. So what are we prepared for our old age? Are we going to stumble into it? Are we going to suddenly one fine day realize that, oh my God, I'm old, what am I supposed to do? And the second point that I was thinking we should discuss on is research and gerontology. What is happening in gerontological research? The third point that I took is gerontological social work. These are the three areas on which I thought we should discuss. To start with, let us discuss on what is the difference between gerontology and geriatrics. Then it becomes much more clear. Gerontology, the word comes from old man, which is a Greek terminology. And a scientific study of old age, process, problems of old age is gerontology in brief. There is much more to it. Geriatrics is a branch of medicine. And to a certain extent, it is a branch of social sciences as well. In medicine, they deal with the health of the senior citizens. In the social sciences aspect, we are supposed to deal with care of the old people who have medical problems. So it is intertwined in geriatrics. But gerontology is clearly study of the old, the process, the problems, and finally it comes to what our social workers or first family members and then later on social workers are supposed to do. Now to start with, can some of you, let's discuss on how many of you felt that you have suddenly stumbled into old age, you were not prepared for it, and you have realized that, oh my God, what am I supposed to do now? I need participation.
So, good morning, good evening, first of all. Frankly, I never felt that the 60 or 65, what officially is declared as a senior citizen, is really so relevant or applicable today. I mean, I'm just responding to how many of you have felt that old age thing. And also looking around in most of the countries, including in India, 60 is no more retirement age. Even the government services like IAS, IPS and all that, they have significantly increased.
It's just a definition for voting.
Yeah, it is now 63, I think. And in medical services like university, medical college professors and doctors and all those things, now it has again raised it by about 60 to 63. And in countries such as US and all that, there is no such defined retirement age. But people normally keep working, at least in the organizations that I worked, people still work at the age of 60, 65 and all that. So to the question that, in how many of you think that you have easily graduated or stumbled into at this old age, I don't think I have even felt that I have crossed that line of into an old age kind of a thing. But to the other aspect, I have got a lot to say about the observations that you have made about how prepared are people. That applies even for a person who is at 55 or 60, and how senior citizens at homes are taken care of, especially in the present context where we live in nuclear families, especially when they need medical attention. So on those, I think I have absolute concurrence with your views that a lot has to be done, even in rich homes. So rich, middle class or poor, yes, there is a difference in terms of being taken care of. But I think we are totally unprepared to take care of elderly people. In the beginning, Sudarshan has thrown one number of 2050. I was just thinking that in 2050, someone like me will be about 90 years. So I really don't know whether I'll be able to recognize myself in the mirror at 90. So, I mean, I'm not even going that far. I mean, just like even people at 75, when they need help, when they have a medical situation, that's a reality. I mean, even at 65, suddenly we might become helpless if there is a medical situation. We will not be able to take care of also. Somebody is making the decisions for us. So how prepared are we becomes very relevant at that stage. I just kind of wanted to open the response and give chance to others now.
Old age is not as easy as it was earlier. Long ago, we had this ashram vyavastha where you knew that I'm going to do this, then next stage, and finally it was recommended that we go to the forest, and also in the final sannyasi stage, saying that you stop eating or whatever, everything was done. Nowadays, nobody accepts this, and it is not relevant, because we are so attached not only to the world, our families and our friends. In a way, it is good. Friends and family are most important as far as I think. As you grow old, more than family, where your children go away, they settle down everywhere, whatever they have to do, they have to be left alone to do what they want. And you have your friends who will be good support psychologically, as well as, keep you cheerful or whatever it may be. Our own life experiences have to tell us, ki, lady or gentleman, this is how you behave, this is how you have to handle. Nobody is going to sit and make you happy, because they have their own happiness to think about. Our own life experiences, what we have gone through, it is always better to go back in a most mature manner and think about all these things. And that old system of where the head of the family would order around and everybody would listen to them, and he still has everything in his hands, is all gone. So how do you behave is something that you have to think about. I can't be fighting with my children saying that, listen, I am the boss, you have to listen to me. Nobody listens these days. Yes or no?
That's true.
Yes.
That's true.
Yes.
A big yes. A very big yes. Yeah.
Yes. And we have to suddenly, you'll have this feeling ki none of these people in the house are listening to me. I'm trying my best to tell them this. Sit down, because that will help. Remember, it will affect health in old age really fast. These stresses, these thinking, this ordering around, I want to be the big boss, I am everything, creates stress, but it will not solve any problems. Sit down and think, what am I doing? Is it right? Is it wrong? We have seen many senior citizens who are busy threatening their children, fighting with their children, saying that you're not listening to what I am telling you. All these years I have told you, now you see, all that won't happen. You have to be open-minded, sit down and think, because it will finally affect you and no one else in the family. And then seeing your behavior, how you behave, you will be treated when you need their help. That is one more thing we should be totally aware. Tomorrow, somebody may say, there are many people who wish that this old man dies. It's better he dies and goes because I'll have some mental peace. Am I right? I think that's true. I have seen so many families saying, when will this man go? Or once the man or woman goes, thank God.
Absolutely true, ma'am.
Yeah,
That's a true reality, yes.
that's true.
Good or bad, you don't know. Finally, who will wish that you live, or I don't know if you yourself want to live that long and go through all these things. You may be a very nice person, but health has to permit you. Your fitness also has to permit you to handle yourself and handle your environment. And there are so many things people should admire you, saying that, oh my God, look at this person. He or she is fit, does not interfere in family matters. And finally, they have to feed you. Remember that also. You can't be cooking your own food. This is all for awareness. I'm not saying that you can't do certain things, but you have to. And when we were running these interactive centers, we had a lot of people coming and saying, nobody feeds me. I don't get my food on time. I don't get water. It could be elder abuse. It could be ageism. It could be anything, but be aware and be prepared. What are you going to do about this? Yeah. And I've always felt when we used to talk to seniors in the villages, first person they have blamed is the daughter-in-law. The son is always the best. He's always the good person. He's the angel. But you don't know whether that fellow is also adding to all these, their attitude, that is how they have been brought up. Son is the person. You have to protect your son. You have to be with your son has taken care of you. Even though if he put this lady or gentleman in a cowshed, they live there and then they'll blame the daughter-in-law saying she's not giving me food. So that's a mental attitude.
That is true, man.
Yeah. There's so many things that are so true that sometimes they become quite frightening. And tomorrow when your health is not good, what do? You have to depend on them. I don't think necessarily in US you have these nursing homes, you have these centers which take care of people, but you are alone in those places.
Yeah.
Your son may take you and put you over there.
Yeah.
And you are there just because they want to keep you alive. I don't know if there is any interaction with the family members. They are allowed to come once in a while, meet you, bring, sometimes maybe homemade food or something. But old age is not that frightening. I don't want to frighten everybody. If a person is fit, a person is occupied, you have to be totally occupied. Keep your mind occupied. You can't be sitting in one corner and saying, I'm going to just do puja and all that. It's not. I have always told people in the centers, don't say, I'll do puja, I will do bhajan and all that.
Yeah.
There are many other things that you have to do, you must do to keep your mind alert.
So going back to your question, ma'am, are you ready for aging or to age? One question is the self, oneself. So that question is primarily applies to the person who is aging or getting closer to the threshold of age, but the threshold is changing. So earlier 60 years as Shastipurti and all that, once that is done, and now people are aged. But no longer that is valid because the life expectancy has increased. Now in the US, almost people live 90 years. That is the average age. Women live still longer, but the men are getting closer to that. Across the world, the life expectancy has gone up because of improvements in health infrastructures, health medical services and all that. People somehow are living longer. So when this life expectancy has increased, but is it with all fitness, the kind of biological systems that we inherited, the healthy systems we had when we are born, when we are young, or even in middle age, if it is a normal life. But with the age, though the expectancy has increased, but it is with certain conditions. So the one who is below 60 may have a healthy body. Even nowadays, most people are complaining one issue or the other, health issues. The health is failing, even in the middle age. In the old age, 65 in the US, we talk about the people 65 to 75 and 75 to 85 and 85 plus. So the health of at these three stages after, if we are only talking about elderly people, is different. So those who are 75 or more, good percentage of them, the more percentage of them are dependent for some services, or for sometimes somebody has to take care of them. 65, 75, they are still active, but they have retired and different lifestyle. So that differentiation we do, and then accordingly the infrastructure is developed to take care of these different categories of people. But this is not happening everywhere. Okay, the other aspect is when we are preparing ourselves for aging. So part of the question is answered. We prepare ourselves for aging right from the middle age onwards, actually. If you are financially preparing, that is one aspect. And some may think about what I will do after retirement, then that is one. And if the people, those who are working in unorganized sector, there is no specific age. They keep working until they die in the other areas. But those occupations are changing. The lifestyles are changing, and even in rural areas, that is changing. So we have some kind of disturbed. We are not there where we were in the old system in terms of aging, and we are not in a modern era where the alternate systems or the arrangements are made for the people to age appropriately and successfully. So we are caught between two worlds. One, the traditional world where there is a system, its own system, and then the modern world where we create alternate facilities to take care of the elderly. And that is some countries it is better off, some countries it's not well developed infrastructure. So the society response is that in terms of elder preparation for taking care of the elderly. Self-preparation is that. But though you are financially prepared, but biological system, how do you control it? It ages. You develop some ailments and the illnesses as one ages. You can't reverse it. You can reverse the biological systems, the biological clock. So therefore, whether you look at the phenomenon closely within yourself or not, changes are taking place. But being aware of, as you pointed out, being aware of those changes and see how you can adapt to the changes that are happening within you, and also what society is expecting. The family is changing, as you rightly pointed out, from joint family to nuclear family, and even in nuclear family, the things are different now. Luckily, as you pointed out, that the daughter-in-law is the villain in the family, but unfortunately not in my family. My father lived up to 95 years, and he used to always say, my best daughter-in-law is Sushila. So, and even more than he used to praise Sushila more than my own sisters. So for taking care of him. So that way, some people are there. Some families are there where whatever the best they can do, they did it. And some families have issues. It's not that totally it is bad or totally it is good. We have a mixed reality here. Families, are they prepared? People want money. people who want, how long this person lives. Then they also raise the questions about it. And when my father needed surgeries for his knees, he was bedridden at the age of 80, and his movement was restricted. And the option was to go for knee replacement. And when I discussed within my family, there were two opinions about it, whether we should go for knee replacement or not. Some said it's a mere waste of money. And the question was whether to do it. Then I asked my father, do you want replacement? I don't want to die like a immobile person in the bed. That was his comment. Then we have gone
excuse me, Sudarsh. We know of many families where they have done cataract for one eye and decided not to do the other for the person. You know, so these are certain things. It's a family decision, whatever, maybe we're not going to dwell on how the son is going to handle, how the daughter-in-law is going to handle, or whatever it is. Daughters-in-law are very good these days, depending on which sector they are. Is it urban, is it rural, or whatever it may be. Finally, it depends on the mindset. And as we grow old in age, we should grow wiser. That is most important, not only the elderly person, but also the family members in that family. Yes, keeping money aside, we do save, most people are careful with their money, or whatever it may be. And the senior citizens or the parents in the home will save money, keep money, lock it up for their son to give it away to the son when he needs it. There have been many cases where we have told the senior citizens, don't give any money to your son as long as you're alive. Don't write your house to him. Don't give your property to him or her. Keep it with you. Don't show them your will. Don't even let them know what you are planning. You know, like they say, if there is sugar, ants will come. Otherwise, they will not come. In all, yeah. Anybody?
Yes, ma'am. I totally agree with you. I have been giving the same kind of suggestions to many families. Don't ever, right away your properties on your children till, you are alive. That's a very important thing.
Yeah.
There are many people who have killed. If you see in India, I'm talking mostly about India. Yes, I did do my coursework in US when I was doing my PhD, and I found that it's so different to what it is in India. And when I collected data in India and did it, it really dawns on you how you are treated over here. Over there, things that has nothing to do here, because everything is 20 years ahead of us in every field.
Yeah.
It is not at all relevant for us. In India, it is different. Even now, it is different. There are many cases where children have even killed their parents. If you see the daily newspapers, it may be in poor families, rich families, whatever families. And you cannot trust anybody who you can keep as caretakers also. In US, yes, most of the children, what they do is take the parents and put them in nursing homes or in assisted living homes. Here also we have assisted livings. There have been many people who have said, I would rather die on my field or in my farm rather than sit in a little room and die in this. Right. I don't need this.
Right.
But children don't listen. They put them in those places. So, this is just saying, be prepared. You don't know what's going to happen to you. You don't know what your children are going to do to you. These are certain points that we are trying to bring to your notice so that you are aware of what's going on. Don't allow them to even decide for you sometime if you can, because you know what is best for you. And if you live in somebody's house, you have to do exactly what they tell you to do. There have been many people who have said, take me back to my home. I want to die in my home. I want to die in my bed because it is my home. Yeah. And I want to eat from that same plate and spoon, which is mine. Yeah,
That's true.
we have seen. And then this is my spoon, this is my plate, this is how it is. And there have been many people, nowadays even doctors are telling, we can't do anything. Take them home, make them comfortable, put them in their bedroom, show them their plate or spoon. Or lately, I'm talking about cases about 2-3 months ago. These are not something that we have read or done anything. So these are a few points, and all of you can dwell on this, agree, disagree, or whatever it may be, and think about it. I think let us move to research and gerontology. Shall we, Sudarshan?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you may have your own experiences, families, your father, mother, grandfather, grandmother, whatever it may be. But think about it and see what you have done is right, wrong, what's going to happen to you tomorrow. Are you prepared for it? Let's go to research and gerontology. Most of the research in India, lot of books talk about demography. So many are old, so many are old, over here, over there, in geographical states, in south, so many, north, so many. In the rural, there are so many, in urban, there are so many. Research is predominantly on statistics and on number and on demography. And what tools of data collection can you use if you want to do a study on senior citizens? Lately, we were trying to do a study on quality of life using the WHO brief questionnaire, which has about 20 or 30 questions. And they have such awkward questions, which none of the people, either in urban or in rural, would be willing to answer. This scales and all that are used for collecting data becomes very difficult. I used a lot of scales in my research. Then you translate it into Telugu because people can't understand it. In Telugu, the terminology changes. And then you are supposed to authenticate it by trying it on a few number of people and saying, okay, it is relevant and some calculation. I'm sorry, but that's how it is used and it was done. Probably it will be continued to be done. Finally, I was just going through some articles in Economic Political Weekly. It's still one of the top research publications. And there are people in it who have put in so much effort for years. They have studied senior citizens and they have depended on narratives. This quality of life, permit me, has a question saying, how is your sexual life with your whoever? What answer is that old man going to give you in the village? Agree? Can I don't know if I'm making this point, but it's a worldwide questionnaire that is used all over the world. And it has to be, WHO gives you permission to use it. It's a very good questionnaire in a way, but it's difficult for us to use it in rural areas or whatever. So there have been many studies which has gone to old. The best people from whom you can get data are senior citizens of the village. Sit with them, record their narratives, and they will tell you, since I was born, what happened.
Yeah.
Till today, they'll tell you. That is review of literature. If you want to know something about the village, what happened over here, what didn't happen, how did it happen, these are the best people. And their memory is not bad. Their memory may be bad about the recent happenings, but you know, those experiences which they love to talk, seniors love to talk.
Right.
So, you know, you record what they are talking, decipher something from that is what I was thinking, though we did not do all this. And over a period of time, you can tell them when you were like this, what happened, when you were 30, what happened, when you were 40, what happened. And they'll keep telling you so many things even now, whether it is relevant or not relevant. And most of the research, if you type into a lot of research studies, they talk about fall of how many senior citizens fell in this nursing home? What is the treatment that you want to give? How many broke their bones? And there is a journal published in Ahmedabad or somewhere in Rajasthan, I think, which talks about aging among mice, aging among certain animals and all that. And then they are talking about the medical aspects, and it's supposed to be Gerontological Social Work Journal. Because it is easier to take, go into a lab. Remember, we as social workers are forever working in a laboratory of human beings. We don't have scales and we don't have certain instruments where you measure what is the loneliness of this man. So even research in gerontological social work becomes little tricky. I will not say totally. Yes, a lot of research can be done, but probably there have to be certain ways and means, different ways and means of doing research. When I used to go to collect data, okay, we'll give you information. What are you going to give us? How much money am I getting? What changes are you going to bring? Are you going to do something for us? Are you going to start something for us? They are forever expecting something, because ultimately, totally towards the end, what the senior citizens want, whether it is in urban or in rural, they need money, they need shelter, and they need medical aid. Ultimately, everything comes to that. Unless you talk about these three things, they're not interested in your research. These are again certain points I'm just bringing as awareness or as certain points to think. I may be totally wrong, but these are certain experiences we had while we were doing data collection. Lately, I will later tell you what all we have done in gerontological social work, where we started interactive center in Hyderabad. We started an interactive center in a village, and then we have done a huge CSR project, which is going to conclude on by the end of this month, I think. So what is it that they need and what is it that we should be doing? You may do research, you may collect data, you may write article, it helps you. What does that man know? What have you written? What does that lady know? Are they going to read your articles? No way. It has given you, you have published it and you have a name. So shall I move to the third point?
Yes, ma'am.
And then all of you can just chop all these to pieces. I don't mind. We'll wait and discuss. Gerontological social work was my third point on which we were going to dwell on, think about. There are very few takers among students who want to work with senior citizens. Field work, I have read certain articles written by people in US, where they have written that everybody opts for working with children or with the middle-aged men, women, or what, youth, or whatever. Do you want to work with senior citizens? We'll see later. What is the emergency right now? Nothing. We'll see later. We'll see whatever it is. The attitude of the youth is different. And what social work can we do with these people? What is it that we can do? And there have been suggestions where students have been told that ultimately it is finally it comes to interdisciplinary approach that will help in this field. You cannot take up a problem, take one person who's busy beating up somebody in the house or whatever it may be, and say, I'll do casework, I'll do group work. No. Something to do with the mind, something to do with medicine, something to do with the behavior. It has to be an interdisciplinary approach is what usually a lot of people or articles or is suggested. Then another easy solution to handle senior citizens is put them in a home for the aged. A social work, a gerontological solution. Put them in assisted living, whatever it may be. These are good suggestions. I'm not against them. If the home is good, the senior citizen likes it, they willingly want to go, yes, it's nice to put them over there. Because nowadays, even with a huge joint family like the Marwadis have, senior citizens are still lonely. You may have 15 members in the family, but this man or woman is still lonely. And they desire a person with whom they can talk. And the best friend they can have at home is a maid. If she's sensitive, and a lot of people give money, you know, in their will, they write 1 lakh to this maid in the house because she has taken care of me. She sat and chatted with me. She doesn't have to do anything else. And this is what they lack, whether it is at home or even in homes for the aged. They may sit among themselves, they may talk, but they would any day love it if the family member comes and talks to them, which rarely or does not usually happen in certain middle class or even lower middle class. I have seen professors, excellent school teachers who have done very well in their profession. I have seen doctors who have done very well in their professions, who have been sent to homes for the aged by the children because they are busy. And all that they, and many of them just, it's a sad picture. Many of them in some homes just cry saying, what did I do? I took care of my parents and my in-laws. Why have I been sent here? What did I do? And there has been a case where I have found, where I saw that one lady died in a matter of just a week. She was put in a nice home for the aged, IS officer's mother. And I don't know what you call it in English, you know, in Telugu it's called Benga. What is it called in
Worry, ma'am.
Benga.
Benga.
Yes.
Benga is not worry.
Worry. I think it's closest word is that.
Finally, she had a hemorrhage and she died in a matter of 1 week because she kept thinking, why am I put here? When will they come? And we used to tell her lies saying, yes, your daughter just inquired when daughter never inquired. Okay, these are just certain examples that I'm giving you. There are many homes for the aged. If you have the money, you can live in real posh ones. They can take good care of you. Money matters finally in old age, whether you save it and keep or whether you are able to spend or your children will spend for you or you have saved and then you tell them to, whatever it is, you know. Or you can stay at home. Another option which can be thought about is stay at home and have caretakers. Again, pay them. And they have to be good to you. So if they have to be good to you, you should have family members who are watching on it. No. Otherwise, there have been cases where they ill-treat people who are bedridden. Even in hospitals, we have heard about nurses slapping the senior citizens when they are bedridden, saying, what the hell, what are you, you know, or whatever language they want to use, they use. So these are certain negative aspects, but yes, there are very good places. Assisted livings are very nice. Nursing homes are nice. Best place for a senior citizen to be taken care of, I would always think, is your own family. And also I will agree 100% that the senior citizen or the old man or woman should behave themselves. We have to be very cautious and we have to ourselves be very careful and think, let me behave myself also. Though I know it's a very difficult thing, having, you know. So, gerontological social work, people normally do not opt, or maybe they do not like to work, they do not like to talk about it or discuss it or even have any. I may be wrong. Now I'm leaving it open to all of you. I will correct myself in this notes of mine if I made any mistakes.
So a couple of comments, ma'am. Gerontological research is also interdisciplinary. I think you have mentioned that. It is interdisciplinary. In the US, there is one conference called, we have a Gerontological Society of America that hosts the conference, and their members are doctors, nurses, social workers, physiotherapy, every professional is a member of that. And when we go to the conference, we hear the presentations across the disciplines. And the goal is to study gerontology, what are the aging issues, how people are aging, and what contributes to aging, and how to reverse some of the changes that are happening. But not necessarily biological, but at least cognitive aging is a big thing, because there is a cognitive impairment that could happen with the aging. The loss of memory, cognitive impairment can lead to mild to severe, and then they lose the capacity to decide, make the decisions on their own, and they become dependent on others. So a lot of serious research is done. That is one aspect. And the studies also, I concur with you that sometimes we have to elevate the research in India. I can talk about research in the US. There are more serious studies, a lot of studies. So for example, social isolation is one of the things. NIH funds, announced grant funding to develop initiatives, how to overcome social isolation in communities, because it is felt that a lot of adults, older adults, are disconnected. They don't have family with them. They're living alone. They need some social support and emotional support and all that, especially those who are living alone and then living in assisted facilities. So those kinds of things, are relevant, and the knowledge can be used anywhere. Of course, some adaptation is needed. Sometimes things are not just, you cannot just transplant the knowledge. You have to make modifications and use it appropriately. I think still there are so many challenges in understanding aging issues and also changing the lifestyle of elderly. A lot of people want a lifestyle, but the infrastructure is so bad. I have visited a few colonies, the high-rise buildings, where they have created senior program within the building, and there are infrastructure available to them. A lot of people go around for walk and this and that, and they can meet together within the building, and they have created a space for them and a medical facility. They have a clinic. A physician comes at least a few times during the week. So some are very progressive, and they are highly rich communities, because they pay almost like 1.5 to 2 crores for their apartments, and monthly maintenance of 40,000. So they can afford, but not average person having those kind of facilities. So those are my observations.
What does the government do over here? Give them 2,000 rupees as pension. And the son accompanies the mother or father, goes, makes them sign, and he takes it.
Yes. You're very much true.
Yeah.
So I just have a few points that came up. Overall, I think it's an excellent presentation, or rather discussion that you have generated, all of which is a reality. I'm very sorry about some sound coming in. There's some construction work going on in my apartment. First of all, I think, I'm just responding to how do we prepare people. The first and foremost, I think, ma'am, you have also mentioned at some stage that money is very important and all that. Even if you want to be in a assisted home, today a decent assisted home is costing nothing less than 50 to 75,000 rupees a month, where you'll have an attendant and you'll get 1 bedroom, and normally it is a 2-bedroom house or apartment. But well, then you also need to have that level of financial preparedness. Very, very fortunately, if you really look at the last 40 years, India had little opportunity to be prepared for old age. If you take my own case, when I was in prime of my career, the only right thing I felt was buy some properties. By the time you retire, the rent that you get from those properties will take care of your life, which is happening. There's no doubt about it. And the inflation is addressed by the rental increases. However, today, if you really look at the SIPs or the what do you call the mutual funds and even the share market to some extent, but that is a bit aggressive. But if you really kind of confine yourself to SIPs and mutual funds, it very decently takes care of the old age without depending on even children. You can have emotional support from children, but financial dependence is not required. Now, it is probably required when we talk about interdisciplinary approach, it is probably required today for the social workers to be aware that even this aspect has to be learned by them or brought to the awareness of the elderly people in terms of financial independence. That actually brings me to the second point, which is the medical needs. Unfortunately, we don't have any kind of social security that is provided by the government. If you go to the government hospital, you think that I would have rather died at home rather than come here. So the government hospital is now not an option at all. Then what is the other option? The other option is a corporate hospital. Unless you know somebody in a corporate hospital, going there is just like, they'll just look at you and then probably look at your background and the kind of people who brought you there. And then first make sure that you are billed about 5 lakhs or 5.5 lakhs, whatever is the illness. Then they will try to see whether what they can do of you or they can't do of you. So medically, you need to, the financial dependence, interdependence, also the independence also needs to be knitted into this medical need. Social disengagement, yeah, you have touched it very well about giving the example of why people even like the maids or cooks at home, just because they talk. At some stage, people just need others to talk to them. That's all they need. And these maids and cooks, of course, sometimes they go overboard and talk about the neighbors and all those things, but they talk anyway.
Nothing wrong. It's very entertaining. Yeah.
It's very entertaining. So that gap, I think we have to, and one of the reasons why elderly people like children so much is because children come back from school and give one school story. They give some friends' stories. They like all these kinds of things. And that social part is another one. You also touched a bit on engagement, where the role used to be very different earlier, where where the age actually was my advantage. The more and more I became aged, I'm getting closer to the role of head of the family. So I was getting one status. Now that status is missing. So I'm only becoming a liability to the family. So what once used to be a great advantage is now become a disadvantage. Likewise, in villages, the elderly person, all he has to do is that wear a dhoti and go and sit in that rachabanda. And people used to come to him for advice. And also I think in some other context, you just mentioned about they like to talk about the past, or in villages, there are no computers, there's no data bank. If you want to know something about the story of this temple and the and the land around the temple and all that, go to this guy and he will give you the entire background when it was constructed, to construct that, what was destroyed. So there's a data bank. So these people were respected immensely because of the data bank. And today that also is gone in the villages. Villages MRO will do that for you, or whatever it is, Me Seva, E Seva, and all. And the worst thing, and this is like, I'm very emotional about it because it happened in front of my eyes for somebody, that's how, I think we are all as a society responsible, is we are unable to handle the death of an old person. And, like, for example, yes, this particular example I'm giving is that the very rich family, assisted living, about 1 lakh per month in a villa, and all is taken care of, and the man died. He died without any big major problem, no hospitalization and all that. The son and daughter, daughter, I think, was not allowed to do all the final rites, and son refused to come from wherever he was, and outside India. So a person has been, so I was there. In fact, I was willing to even do those rites. There's nothing wrong. I called my mother and she said, no, that's okay, you can do. There's no big deal. So the pity is that there's somebody who has done that, who has absolutely no relationship with our families, and he has done that. And he said that he does approximately about 15 to 16 in a month. And it's unbelievable, 15 to 16 people in a month only in the city of Hyderabad. And this man is based in the Jubilee Hills crematorium. And he says that, because he does that, he also has to do the third day ceremony. He has to go to Krishna and then do the immersion of ashes and all that. So we have come to a situation, unfortunately, where leave alone taking care of the aged during their lifetime. Even when they die, just sparing that 1 week and going there and doing whatever is required.
You won't believe there are people who don't even want to come and lift the bodies.
Yeah,
the hospital calls them and says, your father is here, he is normal, you can take him home. Apollo Hospital was telling us about this. Take him home, he's fine. Put him at home. They say, you want money? No? Okay. How many dollars per month? So much. Take. Keep this man there, but he is not going to come home. Clearly, the doctors used to tell us some of these cases.
Yeah. So, sorry.
I'm saying everything is not as sad as this, but yes, what you're talking is totally true. We have seen dead bodies lying in government homes for the aged for a night or even next day, trying to contact the family. When they admitted the person, everything was fine. They came, they gave wrong address, wrong phone numbers, left them there and disappeared. And there's no one to, this lady or this gentleman is dead, please take him. Nobody wants to come. Wrong phone numbers, wrong address. People can go to that dirty extent also, is what makes us aware that what is the value of life finally. What is this life,
So I think, so in a nutshell, in conclusion, what I would say is that when it comes to preparing for old age, and that is unfortunately not assured at a particular age nowadays. It can happen at 40s, it can happen at 50s. Recently I've seen in this group of College of Social Work, a gentleman who is less than 50 just passed away. So whatever be the age, when we finally hit the bucket, I think certain amount of basic preparation is required for us and for our spouses, at least till that extent we have a responsibility. So in these four aspects, one is financial, second is medical, third is social, fourth is engagement within the family, with people outside the family. My experience has always been, I can talk about my mother, I can talk about my father, I can talk about myself. The best engagement is keeping in touch with friends. The friends could be from college alumni, it could be from schools, school alumni, childhood friends, whatever it is.
Be nice to your neighbors, make friends.
Yeah, absolutely.
Have these this daycare center which we started in the city was such a major hit that all the children sitting in different countries who have left their parents here used to tell us, my mother or my father used to eat antidepressants. Now they have stopped it just because they're sitting there and chit-chatting, they're fighting. Yeah. Not that they are very, love conversation. They're busy fighting among themselves on so many issues, whether it is cricket, whether it is political, whether it is whatever it may be. Mentally, they have become much more healthy. And we give the credit to this daycare center, or I won't call it daycare center, interactive center that has been started. There's one thing I failed in that interactive center was, if they are widowers as members, we were working very hard to teach them how to cook their own food. We said we'll have cooking class and we will teach men how to make some rice, make some dal and make one curry or something. These men have been brought up in such a way that they have been told you cannot walk towards the kitchen, you cannot enter the kitchen. So they are ready to go to a curry point, buy their food and eat it and curse it and fall ill and feel bad about it. But that ego which has been built by mother and grandmother in the house, they will never give up. And sometimes the daughters don't cook. Forget daughters-in-law, even daughters don't cook for them. Oh, okay, Nana, go and eat somewhere or do something like that. So there are these problems. These people also should be flexible, open, and enjoy yourself. And I didn't see anything wrong if they had joined that class. We brought a stove, we brought gas cylinder, and we said, come on, these are the Ginelu, let us teach you. Not one person came because tomorrow there'll be a big talk in the community or whatever, wherever they're staying, that what is this man is cooking, a man is cooking or whatever it may be. So there are certain mental attitudes also which...
I think we should teach our children how to cook when they are young people. Boys
all children cook this, Sudarshan, all children cook these days.
Yeah. So that is the change that is happening. New generations, at least they are learning how to cook because the previous generations, they never had by default, they are not in the kitchen.
So these are some of the initial points. We can continuously talk on this area for hours and hours. There's nothing in that which cannot be covered or not talked about, because we have come to the end of our life. We realize so many things. We are aware, we slowly become aware of so many things. How do I handle this? How do I handle that? It's just certain points that we have to sit down and think, and we can discuss among our friends. We have friends among whom we do talk. I have a good group of friends in my Mahindra Hills. We chat about a lot of things at home, about our ailment. If somebody sneezes, we go run taking. We have doctors also. This kind of groups are very important. We have doctors among our friends, and we are busy helping each other. Somebody needs to be admitted. That doctor has a contact in Kamineni hospital. You give their number and you help them to get admitted. Go visit them. These are the certain things which are very important. If your children are somewhere busy, don't bug them, don't call them, don't say you're not taking care of me, you're such a crook and all that. No. Let the children, let the youth do what they have to do, because that is their age right now. So I would strongly suggest that have a good group of friends, and I'm sure most of you have your kitty parties, have your fun, have your card parties or whatever it may be, but be of help to each other, not just, going on talking nonsense. I don't want to use that particular word which starts with B, about each other. Be good to each other, talk. And it is very helpful. And travel with your friends. Go to certain hotels and eat and come. right now, these are the few things that I can suggest. I can't tell you more than that, because your medical issues and all are what in your hands, and what your doctor will do or what will happen.
The other thing, ma'am, lifestyle needs to be appropriate for aging. In the sense, at least there should be some physical activity that one should, if they are not already doing,
100% physical activity, exercises. Please
Those are
don't. Yes, most important.
Very important, that one. Physical activity helps in terms of emotional health and staying healthy, both physically and cognitively. So also you build some connections when you lose those things. I think the physical activity is very important. Usually,
yes, at least 30 to 45 minutes of walking is very important every day. Don't go to these gyms and all that. 30 minutes or 45 minutes walking is very important. If possible, maybe yoga, or it could be meditation, but don't go into one of those trances, where you're doing. No. That doesn't help at all. I am not a big fan of all those things,
I have, during my trip to India, I have at least, stayed with 3 or 4 different families, and I have visited the morning time, the parks and all that. People are they're walking, even if the little space they have, they're walking and doing some yoga and all that. So there is, some people have already embraced that. But sometimes you don't have the infrastructure in certain localities, and they don't know where to walk, even if they want to do that. And sometimes they may not afford some of the facilities, fitness centers and all that. So those are the challenges, I think, that could.
I've seen a lot of transformation among senior citizens in the past 10 to 15 years, where they have started doing some exercises or walking and all. The credit goes to children who are living abroad. The father and mother went and visited them, and this old man who went, suddenly he is back in shorts and t-shirt, and he is busy walking and doing all those things. It's because they have seen it there. And they have learned that this is what is to be done, not to go and sit in a temple or somewhere and do account writing and all that, So the credit goes to all the children who are living in other countries of most of these seniors. And there has been a vast change among people here. They have borrowed this wonderful idea from there. So it seems as though only Shyam, you, me are talking. Where is Nalikantra, Vijayalalita is agreeing? Anybody else on the group?
Yeah.
Rajeshwari?
Yeah, many. Yes, ma'am. I want to add one point in the interdisciplinary approach. As a part of preparing for the old age, since it's a dependence, a lot of issues practically one needs to be prepared. For example, in a family, there is a person who's completely bedridden. She or he needs to be supported by the whole family. In a family like wife, husband, the kids, or any other family member is there, everybody need to sit together and discuss about the changes which they need to make. Little changes, like after coming home, how much, let it be half an hour or 40 minutes, sit and listen to what the person is saying, the old person is saying, the other family members are saying, and share about your things. It is basically giving value to that family member. And understanding that, dependency is not a hopeless thing. Dependency is part of the life, understanding and respecting that and giving value. And each and every family member needs to make little changes and get adjusted. In the old age, there are changes in the food which they take. And they have a lot of desires of going out. It is a big challenge taking an old person to a temple. Now, how do we travel like? We can make a lot of efforts, like, getting a wheelchair, getting into the car. If you are taking to Tirupati or some other place also, we can arrange a person getting them into a wheelchair and directly for a darshan. In the old age, usually, I have heard many people saying that I want to go there and do darshan. Fulfilling their small desires is very important. What I'm speaking on the whole is giving value to what desires they have and realistically, practically, how many we can fulfill.
Yeah.
So this value element, we are actually losing the connectivity. Like you were sharing in many examples, how we connect emotionally, relationship-wise, valuing. These values, if we can inculcate in the family, that will really help to resolve a lot of issues back. Another important thing as far as the medical insurance is covered, when we are in 50s, 40s, we ask many people, do you have medical insurance? They say yes. How much is the coverage? Nobody asks.
Yeah.
And when they get admitted, they will see huge bills and, they get into a shock to, meet that expenses. Now, my husband is a wealth advisor, and he actually prepares many people for the financial planning in the old age. And they talk about what are the challenges you are going to face after 60s and 70s. Now life expectancy has increased. So we may live for 30 years, 40 years. Now we need to prepare our children and their family members. But it is not that, wait, when this person is going to die. No, change the perception. Prepare how many years my mother, maybe 30 years, 40 years, what are all the things I need to get prepared financially, emotionally, interdisciplinary approach which you talk. Practically, we need to get prepared for each and every element and then live happily in the old age. That becomes actually a client who is in US, his mother is died, actually murdered because she was living all alone in the family, and a very rich family. She has 2 sons and 2 daughters, and he is feeling guilty since last 10 years. Now this is how to handle his guilt. He cannot do anything. He cannot to take care. So when a person is alive, give value to that life, that relationship, and then take care of them. This kind of inputs is very important, I feel, in my experiences now.
Madam, I just wanted to agree some of the important points you have already mentioned. Most important was the financial aspect, because at the aging side, people should not depend for the finances on the children. That is a very the complication issue. If you are on your own, then there is no problem with the children to help you or manage. That is a one important aspect. So I think financially one has to plan. And only thing is that some people say, please do not share the details with the children. It again depends on the family to family, because how your children are being brought up and how well they understand and know the situation. So it is always good to keep the children informed about the financial aspects, to the extent that where we are investing and what are the sources of money I would get post-retirement. It may be pension, or it may be mutual funds or something else. I think these are things it is better to share with the children. Then other most important aspect, madam, as you rightly said, health is going to be very, very important aspect, because if the person is able to physically mobile, is able to manage himself, then there is no problem. And if he takes care of health and he's got support from medical scheme, maybe people who retire from private or corporates, they have their own medical scheme where they get fully covered, both for the employee and the spouse. So this medical care is one important thing. I think people should really have it. And in some cases, it's good to have an additional medical cover, because what I had done in my case is, though my company gives the medical scheme covered unlimited for the employee and spouse, I did take additional medical insurance on top of it, just in case the place where you go, the company scheme does not support, or you're not able to get the treatment there. It is better to have that second medical insurance coverage is also very important. I think this is what I have done. Then other important part, in the corporate where I have worked, there is a program for the company which they do it just before the 6 months of the retirement. That means there is a 5-day program for all employees, both for officers, non-officers. They tell them all these aspects of how to do the planning for retirement. Okay, this program in the company where I worked, it is there. Similarly, there are also people who attend to such program on their own outside, because that may be different. But that really helps both financial planning, taking care of the health. Then other thing is, as you rightly mentioned, that people have to be engaged, whatever the time they have. Maybe it may be 20% or 30%. That really helps them, because one can feel definitely very active. So these are some of the aspects in our company. They had really had a program. Then other latest concept what I have been seeing is that in this generation, many of the children, they are not with the parents. One is because migration to other countries is increasing day by day. One is due to financial reasons. Second is due to the career reasons. So because of that, parents are not attended to. If they have a single child, it's much more difficult. If they have 2 children, in a way it is better, because there is an understanding that one child stays back in India, one child goes to US. I have seen some families having this kind of a understanding. So because of that, as children able to earn, and they always say that we have the financial capacity, but back home there are difficulties. As you rightly said, if you stay in an individual house, unless you are an able-bodied person, you have a domestic help, it is going to be very difficult to manage and survive. This is what one aspect. Even then they are able to give more money. But evolvingly, what I have been hearing is that assisted homes, madam, what you said, because in Hyderabad also I heard there are places where they say that they have an option to buy an apartment. They also have an option to have an individual house, and there is a common kitchen. That means a common dining room where people can pay and take food, living in the apartment or in an independent house. So this is a one concept people are it is catching up, because the aging population is increasing. Whatever the statistics Sudarshan said, it is going to be very huge. These numbers are always there, but there is a demand growing. One is because of the financial capacity also. Second is there is a facilities increasing, so people are able to go and opt. Then other important aspect I definitely feel is that one is definitely, if they are really prepared, how you really know. But in many cases, madam, it is not prepared. People have spent time taking care of the children, settling them, and doing a lot of things for the house. I have seen very few people who are really prepared for the retirement. Because in my own case, I have not thought so seriously. I thought, okay, if it is happening, it is happening, but I am prepared. So I took it. So again, thinking too much about how you really do things post your retirement. Again, it depends on the mindset. How, sportively people can take it. Some people get into too much of worry. That also causes disturbance both to the person and to the family also. Okay. So I think some of the things, main capacity, I think people are able to find ways by which they are able to take care. But as others already said, Sudarshan said, then Shyam is also saying, yes, there are situations I have also come across where children or the family members not willing to have them at home to look after. So they have been put into a paid homes, but in the final stages or critical times and all, people are not available. But I think this kind of things do happen again. It is a few cases, but one is that we had to definitely keep telling the next generation that they had to be at least morally responsible to extend whatever the help they can do for their parents. Because if they can do that, I think it will be enough. But as an individual, as a senior persons, I think we should try ourselves to be independent to the extent possible, unless we have health issues and mobility issues. I think that way, many of the problems can be managed and solved. And these are my views, madam.
Can I just chip in?
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're kind of done, I would like to just say one thing. I was going through the chat box. Rajeshwari Raidu has written one comment there saying that probably it is worth going through. I'm audible.
Yeah, she writes, if you don't mind.
Yeah. So Rajeshwari Raidu wrote that it is probably worth having an exclusive session on finance planning. I think that I totally endorse that view. Probably that is very, very useful and very essential. A 1 hour session by an expert who can advise on various aspects of financial planning, and so that people can be self-dependent in that sense.
I think Rajeshwari has.
I would think that whatever this financial planning is to be talked about, it would be very interesting if they could even cover the rural elderly, not just the urban. Urban is fine.
Yeah.
What do people in the villages do about their finances?
Mm-hmm.
Experts, if they can, I'd be happy to listen to them.
I think maybe it's better to have some kind of panel that would have 2 or 3 members who can speak different segments of elderly population.
See, I would like to share with you people about this medical aspect, which our family is trying to cater to the needs of the rural population. It's not just senior citizens, but for children, women, everything. And I have shared the document on digital doctor, on which is slowly spreading in Telangana. It has now gone to certain villages in Janagam, where a lot of medical treatment as such is being provided. This is not a forum to talk about it. There are a lot of RMPs which are misleading the villages, and this program is trying to set right that aspect, and it's doing very well in the villages. Initially, it had a lot of problems. Now we have reached villages near Janagam as well. So this is one good program that is going on, and today I would not be able to talk about it.
When you said initially there were lots of problems, you mean there was lots of resistance to this?
Because of RMPs, I have been going to him for the past 20 years. Oh, Rochi, what are you going to do right now was one of the thing. And before I'm waiting for Matthew Madam, of course, to give her comments. We have taken up a CSR project, which again I shared in the CSW collective under our industry called Solon India, where we realized that a lot of the government programs, the government has given under their Swachh Bharat program, they have given certain subsidies for people in the villages to construct toilets, which they're supposed to use and keep the whole place clean and avoid open defecation. Then we visited certain villages, and we have a lot of people who have migrated and who work for us, and they have said, we use these toilets to keep our bakri when it is raining, or we keep our wood in it, or we store it, we use it as a storage. We don't use this program at all because the toilets are the squatting variety. And it is very difficult, especially for the senior citizens, to use those toilets. So what we have done through MARI, we have distributed toilet chairs. Then after distributing the chairs, I went around some villages to see what's happening to them. we found that the senior citizens are not able to walk towards these toilet chairs also. So we have given them walkers, saying you use this walker, use this toilet seat, use it this way, and this is how you clean it. And the collectors and the people said, we never even thought about this. We said, oh, wonderful, the government gave and these guys must be using. Then they realized, yes, these guys are still going into the fields. So, this was one of our success. This program is still going on. We have covered almost 300 senior citizens under our CSR project. So we'll see we are looking for an impact study and all that. And after 6 months or 1 year, we'll figure out whether they're using this toilet chairs or have they just sold them off. Yeah. Usha, waiting for your comment.
No, I appreciate what Saraswati Madam has talked about the rural areas. There's so much of intervention that has been done. And but I'm very concerned about the urban middle and lower middle class. I somehow feel that they have been totally neglected, or I feel that they have to make their both ends meet. There's so much of struggle financially for them. I admire the way, I'm not being a little one-sided. In Delhi, they have mohalla clinics for such communities. Whereas in other cities, I have never found the urban middle class, lower middle class being taken care of. How do those families meet the needs of senior citizens when their finances are so limited? They are forced to neglect the elderly, and as a result, there is elder abuse. Definitely elder abuse. They're not given food, they're not taken care of because both husband and wife have to work. They have to work to make them both ends meet. So how do they handle senior citizens in their own families? Because all their resources are limited. All their resources are limited. And as a result, they are neglected. The senior citizens are neglected. So can't we look into that aspect, where we have talked about rural? Yes, we have done so much. And we talk about corporate hospitals. We talk about hospitals where you can afford to go. But what about the urban middle class? They end up with total medical negligence and they're not able to handle those situations in their own families. It's just a point that I wanted to convey.
Yeah, to add to Usha, as I'm sure even she knows, a lot of urban middle class or lower middle class senior citizens are put in a van, driven to various temples, Monday here, Tuesday there, Wednesday here, Thursday there, and they are left outside the temples to beg. And you'll see many of them sitting on the pavements, and you'll see them walking around or even sitting down, not able to move, and they're supposed to beg. And if you talk to them, they'll tell you, if I don't, this is my contribution to the family. If I don't give this amount, I will not get my food for the night. And after all that they have done, there have been cases where we have seen that a lot of senior citizens in their final moments, they are left on the pavements, waiting for the municipal truck. One fine day,
pick them up.
There have been people who have just died on the pavements because, I can't afford to do the cremations or whatever is required, or even take the body to the burial ground, or it could be to the cremation ground, or whatever it may be. You'll see such many people outside the Archbishop's house in Secunderabad. You keep passing by that. They're dumped over there. Many have died on the pavements, and then you call the municipal van, a municipality or the cantonment board, they come and pick it up. If you see, Sister Lizzie has done something like this when she saw somebody die on the road.
Yes.
What finally happened in most of these families, middle and lower middle, I agree with Usha in most of the points that she has made. Nobody cares. The moment you are 70 and you start not able to walk, somebody will give them one. You'll see most of them having a walker, or they will be given a stick to walk around at least. But you'll see only senior citizens sitting outside the temples and begging. Today, the same person on Monday is in this temple, you don't know which god that is. Then Tuesday, you go to the next god. Wednesday, you go to the next. That's how people are going. And they have to live on what is being given as charity.
That, yeah.
Whether it is money, whether it is food or whatever. Yes, the condition is quite atrocious, very sad, but that's how what is going on.
Yeah.
And they clearly tell you, this is my contribution to the family. If I stop begging, what do? I won't get my little whatever rice or roti or dal or whatever it may be. Everything is like that. But let's not be sad about everything. Things are rosy also. On the other end, we sit down and think.
True. Yes.
These
You
discussions will help. Yeah. I agree with you.
Yeah. Sudarshan, how are we doing on time? I want to share.
We are already 2 hours into the session.
Yeah, I was thinking so.
Let me say one point. Madam brought up a third component of our presentation was what we are doing in terms of social work interventions. I think the last point that is brought out is people lower middle class and lower class. I think the demographics are changing and the rural areas are no longer rural areas. The connectivity has increased now. People are moving to semi-urban areas, smaller townships. Even the mandal headquarters have become centers of growth. Urban areas are emerging. So I think that aspect need to be looked into. So we cannot simply say rural urban, but the rural areas are changing. And now the focus is the population, different classes of people, and who is covered, who is not covered, what are their needs, and looking at the demographics and the people and their needs differently is needed. The second, and this is where social workers can contribute. So any interventions that we think about and design are based on the population and their needs and how to take care of them. So this is where we work and contribute with our expertise. And the solution to your question, third question was, is to explore how we can address these different populations within the elderly population, and what can we do to address some of the issues. That could be an area, maybe more research needs to be done, and then look at the needs and then think about interventions.
So shall we close the discussion? Yeah. And I would like to thank each one of you to come to have joined this discussion and patiently.
I think Nallikantrao had a few things to say.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, but the time is a factor. What I'm thinking is
that's okay. That's okay. We'll just listen.
That's okay. You can.
Sure. See, my suggestion is we should continue these deliberations on challenges of aging. One meeting will not be sufficient.
Yeah, correct.
Let me tell what impact it had on me. I became sensitive to my own configuration of aging process. One. Second, out of that understanding and awareness, what I am thinking is all the deliberations that we did, wonderful, needed, practical, yes. But my proposition is, even we 12 of us meet once in a month, take ourselves as the subjects of old age and ask this question: how do I wish to live my life in 60s, 70s, 80s? And how can I contribute even in those ages? How can I contribute even in those ages? One. Two, third thought that came to me is, it's not just old age. Yes, old age has acute other issues of dependency, vulnerability, helplessness, disconnection, all are associated. But every age, when you go from one age to one life station to another life station, the concept of transition, there are transitions happening. How well am I prepared for each transition? Was I prepared when I was moving from unmarried to married? Or was I prepared when I become a father or not being a father? When I am not done my homework, then how can I suddenly start working on aging? I will not be able. So how do I handle transitions? What is one transition is, I will not be psychologically independent. I will become dependent, socially dependent. I will be vulnerable when I'm in 80. I will be disconnected socially. People will not like to talk and engage with me. The societal changes are happening. The world structures are breaking. In those circumstances, how can I be strong? How can I still consider those sufferings as meaningful? That is where I take inspiration from Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning. When you are dying also, you can see meaning. Now, at that stage, it is not the physics, it is not the social, it is the mind which is with you, and we need to work on the mind. For example, what it struck me when I was listening to Saraswati Madam is, I was postponing to read this book of Tibetan Buddhist Living and Dying. The book of Living and Dying by Sokpal Rinpoche. If you read that book, I try to read 1 or 2 chapters, it actually prepares you. Death is equally as good as birth. Okay? The very fear of death is causing all these problems. If we work at the mindset level, because sometimes physical health conditions are not permitting it. So therefore, we need more stronger mind at that time. So what I told myself is, I made 2 boxes for 2 by 2 matrix. Current and when I am actually old. Right now, what I think I am good at, and those good at qualities will not be there tomorrow for me. So how am I going to, what actually preparation means? Am I prepared for the old age? What does it mean actually? Preparing being old means what for me? Is it mental preparation? Or is it preparing people around me? Is it financial preparation? Or is it all together? Whatever I prepare, things will not happen. There will be disappointments. There will not things happen as per my expectations. So therefore, in the current state of mind and being, what is that I can do for tomorrow's preparation and need to do? That's what I mean by, can we write down something for ourselves, what I wish to do, how I wish to live my life in 50, 60, 70. What I'm saying is, if we work on ourselves, we are in a better position to give something to the community. Okay. Second is, we all live in colonies. I live in a colony. Can I draw some time of these people who are living here to spend their time on discussing aging, like we are doing it here? In each colony, there are educated people, professionals, IT companies, doctors, consultants, they're all living. And in each of their families, there are old people, parents are there. So what I'm saying is, in our own way, in our own zone of influence, how can we create those spaces where some awareness is possible to create? So I would say these are some of the points I got. So it definitely sensitized me to my own becoming 70s, 80s, 90s. How am I prepared? What does preparation mean for me? Forget about others getting prepared. What does it mean to me? First, if I define that and put it on paper, and what steps I need to do now, that is current state, and tomorrow future state, when I'm actually in that state of mind, where I'm dependent, where I'm socially isolated, where I'm physically ill health, but still life is there, my mind is active. Should I be sad? Should I be depressed? Should I be, how you see the problem is the mind, the stance we take towards life can be optimistic or pessimistic. So how do we create meaning even in suffering? Man's Search for Meaning is the book, Viktor Franklin. So even in that age, what is meaningful to me? Can I now think about it? Because all this, what we have discussed is typically good points, they are needed, service point of view. But more important at that stage is your mind. Mind is not aged. Mind is agile, unless senility sets in or Alzheimer's sets in. But at such time, mind is active. And that's the problem actually. Mind is active, circumstances are not allowing or permitting. That becomes a problem. And that's why they become a problem in the house. Not only for the people, even for the dog. Pet dog, old man is a problem. Okay. So my points are like this. In fact, I was thinking about asking myself these questions. And this requires, I think, more deliberations, at least coming few months, we must spend on this. If you are all convinced, first let's work on us, parallelly work on what is the contribution we can make. And so, like Saraswati Madam said, a lot of interesting work has been done and it's still being done. Whatever we do, it's still a drop in the ocean. We still a long way to go.
Yep.
As social workers, the definition is how do we help others? How do they help them to help themselves? So that is where, how do we enable the old man to think about himself not as a helpless, dependent, socially disconnected person. He needs help there at that time. Rest will fall in place.
Oh, very good points. Excellent points. Great.
Good points, Nalikant. Can you put up the name of the book, please, Nalikant?
Yeah, the Tibetan Book of Living and Dying. Tibetan Book of Living and Dying by SOGPSOGYA.
I think you have to put it up because the name is.
Put it in the group.
Put it on the chat box.
I'll put it in the group.
Okay.
And, the group you can put up. You can put it in the group.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah. Man's Search for Meaning also I'll put there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Please.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I think with those comments, if no other person, those who have not spoken at all,
I think we should close it now.
Yeah. So let us close it now because everyone has spoken about express their thoughts.
I think Keshav wanted to speak, but there's no time. He was trying to come in. I think he can put in his point in the group. Yeah, Keshav, I saw him making an effort.
So 1 minute, let us give him a chance to express what he wants to. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Purushottam. Yeah. Thank you, Sudarshan sir. Thank you, Saraswati ma'am. I heard a lot about you, but listening to your lecture has been a very introspective for me as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ma'am, I will not take much time. I've been in UK for the last 20 years and I've been a healthy boy and I haven't done anything wrong. But recently I've been diagnosed with having a neurological condition. It's not life-threatening, but some neurological condition, it will have impact on my lifestyle. So when I was diagnosed, I've gone through a lot of emotional turmoil with it. And we don't know what is around the corner, how it's the impact is going to be impact on our health. So that experience has taught to me that I have 7 days to live. I always say I've got 7 days to live. In those 7 days, anything can happen to me. So I try to lead my life saying that I've got 7 days to live. And being a non-resident Indian, I've got elderly parents back home in India. My mom had a brain stroke and got paralyzed on the right side of her body. Being away from home, being the only son, we have two children, myself and my sister. There's a myth in India is a male dominant and think that the son will look after, care for the parents when they become old. But in my case, that myth has been broken because my sister is looking after, my brother-in-law is looking after my mom and dad in Hyderabad city. And I've got support from extended family. That's a blessing in itself. And looking after a sick person who is fully dependent, it's a challenge. And they will become demanding as the time goes through because they want time and attention. I try to put care worker 24/7, but no one is lasting for a month or so because mom is telling them off. She seeks their attention. And my dad, who has been brought up as a farmer, he never went into the kitchen. He used to wash his hand in the plate he eat, and he expects everything to be done. He never entered into the kitchen in his lifetime, being a typical rural Indian father. But my dad has been looking after my mom for the last 3 years, attending her personal care. But he is also a doctor. So it's not easy. And as you said to ma'am in that your presentation, older people also need to behave. But their brain pathways are damaged in some or the other way. They will not be, I may understand because I see in this country of working how they prepare themselves for death. And every hour there will be an advertisement in the TV, have you planned your funeral? But in India, we can't discuss these things. I asked my Atama, like my dad's sister, what will happen to your property? Then she started telling me that this guy came from London and is looking for my death, because death is not something very easily discussed in our society. But my experience as told is we need to be prepared. We need to have planning. Anything can happen to anyone around the corner, no matter what age you are, no matter what age and what condition, how strong economically or weakly, because we need to have this preparedness and to prepare our family as well. But I know it's very difficult, but that's a true reality of the human being, because no one, the queen had everything, but she has passed away 2 days ago as well. That will not stop for anyone. Money issue, you also talked about money. Just I wanted to touch aspect on that because I'm a person, I don't read books, ma'am. I like to listen. I learn more through listening because I don't get time to read the books and to introspect. I prefer to listen to the learned, and I hear. I asked my dad, Dad, what will happen to the property which you did it? And my dad got upset for 2 days and he hasn't talked to me, saying that why this guy is asking me. But why this guy is asking me about what will happen after him. But I'm not able to convince my dad, it is inevitable. It will happen. If you want or you don't want, it will happen. So what happens is the parents doesn't tell a clear-cut idea of what should happen to their properties, and that will end up the children in a fight, in a bitter fight. But the elderly people also need to understand this one. I know I'm very conscious of the time, but I hope I made sense what I'm telling you.
Yes, yes.
But thank you.
Yes, very well, very well
Good
said,
points.
Very good points, very realistic. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am, for giving me that opportunity. And
Thank you,
Saraswati, ma'am.
And all the best, Keshav.
Thank you, Keshav.
All the best.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you,
Keshav.
Keshav.
Another thing
Good
is,
to hear from you.
another thing is that being an NRI, we have a guilt feeling that we left parents back home. But
True,
what
yeah.
can I do? I can't drop my job here. I can't drop my family here. I can't just switch off and go back because I got my hands into different commitments here. But I wanted to be a part and parcel of my parents' life, and I wanted to do what I can do. But there is very limitation what I can do. But I don't know what happens in England, but I know what happens in Hyderabad, because the first thing when I wake up in the morning, I see News 18 or NDTV. I don't know what's happening in United Kingdom. That's how well I'm connected. But what happens is I stuck there, but the families have moved further. I don't know how much they think about me, but I think about them every hour, every minute. But they only think, oh, he's gone, he's leading his life. But there's also an issue we need to talk about non-resident Indians and their dynamics towards their parents back home.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Thank you, Keshav. I can empathize with you.
Thank you. Well said.
Thank you,
well
Keshav.
said.
Well said.
Very well said.
Thank you,
All the
ma'am.
best.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I think let us, with those comments, and let us not extend the session anymore. We're already 7:30. That means 2 hours, 30 minutes we have spent.
6 o'clock.
Yeah.
But it's a very
Often.
worthwhile discussion, Sudarshan
Yeah.
sir.
Yeah. It's a worthful, it's a meaningful, and every time when we have these conversations, they're beneficial and help. But not only for ourselves, but also it can lead to more conversations and learning. Learning occurs
Okay,
every stage of life. Yeah. So with that,
Take
let us
care.
conclude the session, and we'll meet. I'm proposing October 1st or 8th. For the next session, we'll continue the same theme, aging. And if Madam wants to present on something else or more beyond the topic, or we ourselves can also, one of us can present on any new topic within the aging. Yeah. So let us hear some views on that. But if you are okay with October 1st or 8th, then let's also express your intention to join. Okay. With those comments, let us conclude this session. Thank you all for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Nandita.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.